afternoon to everyone, to all of the participants joining us, to you. Big warm welcome to our fourth Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide workshop. This workshop is being co-organized by TAFISA and Nike Made to Play, and is organized in partnership with our three members from the Balkan region, Sports Union of Slovenia, Turkish Sport for All Federation, and Association Sports for All Serbia. It is now time to start this workshop, but before we start, I would like to go in a little housekeeping. I would like to advise all of you that this workshop is being recorded, so if you do not wish to appear on the recording, please turn off your camera. All of your microphones have been muted by default to ensure a smooth running of this workshop. And if you wish to intervene, if you have any questions or comment, please raise your hand or write your questions in the chat. If you raise your hand, we will then, when the floor is open, we will then allow you to unmute yourself and to intervene. Finally, it is really important that you all put your Zoom name to your first name, surname, and your organization. That is really important for us, so we can ensure that we can give you a certificate afterwards. So please change all of your Zoom names to your names into your organization now. And then we would also be happy if you could introduce yourself in that chat so we know who is present and from which country and organization. So I do think that is already enough housekeeping now for the beginning, and it is time to officially start the workshop. So without further ado, I would like to introduce TAFISA's board member and also vice president of the International Dance Organization, Ms. Fiona Johnson, who will give some welcoming words on behalf of the TAFISA Board of Directors. Fiona, over to you.
You're muted. As we launch the fifth Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide Global Workshop Series in the Balkans region. This workshop series, a collaboration between TAFISA and Nike Made to Play, aims to provide additional tools and resources to the global sport for all movement in order to recruit and retain girls in sport. The workshop series has already covered 4 continents, and this time in Europe, we invite members of the movement to discover the Coaching Girls Guide and support them in utilizing and disseminating the guide in their own settings and language. The workshop series is part of the TAFISA wider strategy to increase and enhance opportunities for girls and women to undertake sport and physical activity, as well as highlight the necessity of equal representation at all levels. TAFISA, through Mission 2030, which is our answer to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, strives for a safe, equal future for all girls and women, free from inequities, violence, abuse, and discrimination. In order to reach out to different networks and multiply our impact, each workshop is held in different regions of the world and in collaboration with a selected 1-2 group partner that shares the same values as TAFISA and Made to Play regarding closing the gender gap and making sport more accessible for girls and women. We are really honored to team up with TAFISA's close member organizations, as previously mentioned, Turkish Sport for All Federation, Sport for All Slovenia, and Association Sport for All Serbia for this workshop. We are also honored to be joined by special guests, and we hear from the experience of leading experts. Let me name Professor Dr. Fatma Neşe Şahin, Milena Reljin, Mojca Markovič, and Ms. Viv Holt. I would like to offer a sincere thanks to you all on behalf of the TAFISA Board of Directors for your attendance today, and I will really look forward to listening to your interventions. I would like to extend a special thank to Nike for their ongoing support to TAFISA since 2013, and to highlight the tremendous work that they have been doing, acting as an opinion leader and change maker, contributing to move the lines worldwide for girls and women's participation and opportunities. In particular, I would like to thank Marieta Bredhauer and Elena Korf for their ongoing partnership and support, and for making this workshop series a reality. Finally, I would like to thank all of the participants who have joined us today. Together, we can make a stronger impact on our guests for a better world through sport for all. On behalf of the TAFISA Board of Directors, I wish you all a productive and enlightening workshops. Tui, tui, tui.
Thank you very much, Fiona. That was a very good welcoming words. So after having these great welcoming words, I would also like to introduce myself. My name is Denis Robrade, and I am a project manager at TAFISA. Today, I will be moderating the workshop, so I hope you will all stick with me and all of the great speakers which we will have. The objectives of this workshop today we have three objectives for this workshop. The first objective is to empower girls and women through the training and educating of coaches, sport leaders, and managers. Our second objective of this workshop is to improve the quality of sport coaching offered to girls and women and encourage girls and women to train as sport coaches. And last but not least, our third objective is to increase the number of, firstly, girls who are physically active, secondly, women who are trained coaches, and thirdly, women leaders across the global sport for all movement. To achieve this objective, you're going to hear from three fantastic speakers who will report on the state of play of the sports across the Baltic regions. Today, we are joined, as we have already heard from Fiona Johnson, by Professor Dr. Fatma Şahin, who is a member of the Turkish Sport for All Federation Education Council. We are also joined by Milena Reljin, Tatic, who is a chairperson for the Women in Sports Commission for the Olympic Committee of Serbia. And furthermore, we are also joined by Mojca Markovič, who is a member of the Sports Council of Experts at the Basketball Federation of Slovenia. After we have heard from these three fantastic speakers, we are gonna follow this up with an interactive roundtable. So everybody can learn also from the experiences from the different participants. Once this roundtable is over, you will be introduced to an excellent research, which will be followed by which will be presented by Mrs. Holt. All speakers have fantastic insights and experience knowledge to share on how to engage with girls and women across the sport movement. But before we actually going any further, I would like to find out a little bit about who is joining us today. So please use the chat function and let us know where you're located and what your role is in the Sport for All movement. And also please mention what you would like to take away from today's workshop. And please generally don't hesitate to use the chat function. We are always happy if you have questions to answer them afterwards or to just hear what you're thinking about the workshop. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I wanted to greet the ones who already introduced themselves in the chat. So I see we have Fabio from Italy. We have from Bratislava, a group fitness instructor from Belgrade. We have Dusan from Assur Sport Santé France. So it is great already to see that we are joined from different people, from different organizations from around the world. Please really don't hesitate to make use of the chat function. We're eager to see where you come from. I would like to again extend all of my welcome to all of you and thank you for letting us know where you come from and what you're doing. So also welcome to Katja and also to Hilal, who are both coaches. And as you continue to introduce yourself using the chat function, I do think it is now time for us to learn about the state of play in the Balkans. First up, we have Professor Dr. Fatma Şahin, who, like I mentioned, is a member of Turkish Sport for All Federations Education Council. She is also responsible for coaching education programs. Furthermore, Professor Dr. Fatma Şahin is also a trainer in the yoga and wellness coaching course at the Ankara University. She's also the head of the Department of Coaching Education at the university in the Faculty of Sports Sciences. With her extensive academical and practical insights, she will provide valuable insights about the state of play in the Balkans. So, Ms. Şahin, the floor is over to you.
Okay, thank you and welcome everybody. It's so nice to be that much valuable meeting, because as a female athlete, ex-female athlete, as an ex-swimming coach, and now I'm in the part of the education, part of the sports science. I've been all part of the sports area in my country. Where should I start? Okay, I should say there's a great gender discrimination in sports area in Turkey, just like the other country. It's not something about the Turkey. I know that from the US to Balkans, all over the world, we can face with discrimination. And there is still glass ceiling even in my top, in my country, because I'm a strong woman in sports area right now. I was an athlete, I was a coach, but I can feel that glass ceiling in my top nowadays. And there's some barriers, of course, in sport area in Turkey. Everybody knows that it's a kind of man club in all over the world. I call this bordello. It's just kind of man club. I have to work a lot in order to say that I'm here in Turkey. The barriers are, there's some barriers. Most important barriers are social barriers. You know, empowerment of girls and women with sport is very important. And also we signed this agreement with with UNESCO, and we are the part of this project. But still we can face with some social barriers. Most important things, you know, in Turkey, they think that, still think that the sport is some area, it needs a lot of, no, women's nature is not suitable for sports area, because women are much more kind, sensitive, and the sports area is really competitive. That's why they still think that the sport is not suitable for Turkish women. And this is the main social barriers in our society. On the other hand, there's some organizational problems of Turkish coach or Turkish women coach, so women athletes in Turkey. The organizational problems or barriers are, no one, I don't know why, no one wants to work with the women coach in Turkey. In infrastructure team, just like, you know, girls, schoolgirls or boys, there's a lot of women coach, but in the national team, it's really difficult to, you know, find a high level of coach, women coach in Turkey. They said there's some problem of women in order to become a head coach, because, you know, if you are very busy head coach, you have to travel abroad, you have to go other cities, you become a mother, you have got some maternity responsibilities. That's why they claim that women doesn't want to be head coach in any team of Turkey. But when we look at the education, from my faculty to TAFISA, Turkish Sports for All Federation, and the other federation, in my faculty, every year, the number of coach candidates, female or male, are almost same, 50-50. 50% girl, 50% boy. And when we look at our all sport federation, basketball, volleyball, total number of the women athletes is about 27% of, not athletes, courts are 27% of all courts. But Turkish Sports for All Federation is a bit stronger in this area, because in our wellness, and we are giving wellness and yoga coaching certificate in our federation, the number of women coaches are approximately 45% of total coaches. This is our pride as a Sports for All Federation. We enforce, we invite all girls from all over the world to come and join our coaching education program. And another main problem is, just like the other countries, the salary. Not equal salary for women coach and male coach. Still, male coach can earn double times much more than women coach, because they can train much more successful teams, and still women coach have to deal with the school programs. That's why they cannot earn that much money. When they cannot earn that much money in order to enough for their whole life, they quit, they stop coaching and try to find another job for themselves. These are the main problems of coaching education and the coaching systems of the Turkey, just like of the other countries. But I have to underline that Turkish Sports for All Federation do a lot of things for this in order to change this situation. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you very much, Şahin, for this great intervention. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to post them in the chat. Next up in our state of play in the region, we have Ms. Milena Reljin Tatic. She is currently the chairperson of Women and Sport Commission at the Olympic Committee of Serbia. She is not only a coach, but also a gymnast herself, and she began practicing rhythmic gymnastics in 1977 and was a top international athlete in rhythmic gymnastics. Ms. Reljin has also had created and implemented the project Rhythmic Serbia, which promoted rhythmic gymnastics and sport for the female population. A large number of coaches and judges were trained, and the number of new clubs in all of Serbia has increased. We are now happy to have her here as our next interventionist and are looking forward to hear from her valuable insight. Ms. Reljin, the floor is open for you.
Thank you so much. Hello to everyone. My name is Milena. I'm from Serbia, and I have 30 years of coaching experience in rhythmic gymnastics, almost all of the time in Serbia, on training camps in other countries, and more than a bit in coaching foreign gymnasts. Before I start, I would like to say that I'm honored to be here and to thank my professor, Mr. Dušan Mitić, who asked me to make this presentation. Before coaching career, I used to compete on international level, including participation in 2 Olympics. Parallel to coaching my club athletes, I am a top-level international judge, national team coach, and president of the Women in Sport Commission of the Olympic Committee of Serbia. As you may know, rhythmic gymnastics is a women's Olympic sport. In a few other countries, there are rhythmic gymnastics for men as well, but it is not Olympic sport. Rhythmic gymnastics is a mixture of art and sport, ballet, music, and gymnastics, and it requires some distinct predispositions for top-level gymnasts. Since it is a basic sport, girls can start with practice very early, generally when they are 4 years old, sometimes even with 3, and the program for them is specially adopted. The main purpose of the Rhythmic Serbia program I'm going to talk about now, which started 2005, was to broaden the basis of our sport to increase in the number of girls who participated, but also by educating new coaches and providing technical help in foundation of new clubs, especially in smaller towns. As you can see, at the beginning, we had 3 clubs. After 3 years program, we had 11. That work is still on. Today, there are 35 clubs in Serbia, at least partly thanks to this program with a few thousand girls and the 100 girls at the beginners competition. We held seminars, workshops, coach clinics, wrote brochures, traveled to small towns. The education of new young coaches is the best way to spread the sport. Over the period of 20 years, we had more than 15,000 girls who passed through my club. Some of them have achieved notable results beginning in the national team of Serbia, while for all the others, this sport has helped them become good and healthy individuals. We succeed in reaching our goals, as you can see from the figures in the base year and current ones. Slide 2, please. Sport in general is a way to acquire some technical ability to master your own body. Technical mastery is an important element of rhythmic gymnastics because it requires not only control over one's body, but also over apparatus. In addition, athlete has to perform in a way which matches the musical theme of her exercise with grace and elegance. At the top level, it is near perfection, as good as it can be. But there is a wide space between beginner and top level, and coaches are there to develop to the possible extent predispositions hiding in our girls. The possible extent means that coach is early aware of possible limitations and adjusts his approach to each individual in efforts to surpass it. Predispositions needed for our sports are body flexibility, coordination, musicality, elegance, and of course, right mindset. Of course, mindset plays a very important role when it comes to achievement of more than average results. I have always seen myself not only as a coach, but primarily as an educator who has a responsibility to understand each individual athlete and to help them become a strong, independent, and self-aware person. Slide 3, please. All comes from head. To encourage my girls to do better, I say this a lot of times. Sometimes it is a way to help them to focus on a routine. It is a dull part of every sport, constant repetition of the same movements, and the bulk of the training session is like that as well. The goal is to perform certain elements automatically, but to achieve that, you must be focused all the time during training. At the beginner's level, there is much less of this routine. I tend to make training session as innovative as possible, trying to encourage girls to talk to me, to get to know them in order to lose them up, and to make interpersonal bonds among them. They should become friends and support each other. It is the first goal I set to myself. Training in this level resembles to play more than to a sport. Did I say that our sport is a mixture of ballet and gymnastics? Ballet is the base of our sport. Since we have experienced ballerina in our coaching staff, she observes and contributes by showing ballet movements to girls, which helps them to perform rhythmic elements in a better and proper way. Next step is to make movements in accordance with the music. It is usually children's song, joyful and rhythmical. They probably already know. I encourage girls to improvise movements during such musical theme to show me the way they see themselves. Also, I monitor the way other girls react to such beginner performances and suppress possible smear or other type of negative reaction. Effort is always rewarded, and sometimes I try to repeat some movements they made and to propose some small adjustments. It is usually confidence boost. Slide 4, please. Beginners here is reserved for play and get to know each other. In this year, there are no individual routines. Besides actual rhythmic gymnastics apparatus, we also use some toys, bears, dolls, and other apparatus which are familiar to children, balloons, scarves, and etc. Focus is on getting habits to exercise, to socialize, to get used to connection of music and movements, and to get basic skills in control over apparatus. In the half and in the end of the year, we have presentation of our progress for family and friends. It includes group routines, and it is always very nice and relaxed. It is display of achieved skills, but also a motivational vehicle for both girls and their families to continue to practice. Second year of practice is time for girls to try our controlling apparatus. Rope, hoop, ball, they are not new to them, but to make those to listen to the command of the performer is something different. Clumsy in the beginning or not, each of them can reach certain level in their own pace. Coach is there to show how it should be done, to correct gently, and to encourage, of course. In the way they cope with difficulties in this stage, you can learn a lot about their personality, willpower, level of self-confidence, and to adjust approach to each of them individuality. Slide 5, please. Individuality is the key word to help girls in their tender age to boost self-confidence by learning to express themselves through their routines. It is a gradual process, and each step should be planned carefully. When I was athlete, senior level in our sport was set 14 years, and in 19 or 20, one was considered veteran and the end of her respective career. Now seniors are from 16 years onward, and career span is much longer. But the task of a coach remains the same. Our goal to keep the gymnast in sport as long as possible, because only when they fully mature and grow up, they can express themselves through movement and music in the most beautiful way. More information available to girls nowadays often just contributes to confusion if they lack safe confidence and guidance. Coach must be a psychologist as well to help girls as far as she can to become person on their own, to look to the world with their eyes wide open and to believe in themselves. The other things will follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this great intervention. It was very interesting to learn about the rhythmic gymnastic program which you have created. To all of the participants, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat about the project. So lastly, I would now like to invite Mojca Markovič, who is a former EuroLeague and national team basketball player. She has a rich personal experience and knowledge in both sport project management as well as coaching basketball to all age groups. She has designed the innovative approach to encourage elderly to become more physically active called Active Aging Festival. As an elite basketball player, she had played 3 seasons in the EuroLeague and 4 seasons in the Euro Cup and has won 7 titles of the national championships of Slovenia, as well as 7 titles of the Slovenian Cup winner. She has in total 65 official appearances for the women's senior national team of Slovenia and has received awards such as Golden Basketball as well as Silver Basketball from the Basketball Federation of Slovenia. So with that said, I would like to give it over to you, Mojca. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Can you see my presentation? Okay, great.
Yes.
I'm happy to share some of my coaching experience, coaching basketball to girls. Let me start with some numbers about sport in Slovenia. As you may know, sport has a really good tradition in Slovenia. It is a very important part of our lifestyle. And we have over 3,200 local sport clubs, which is quite a high number, considering that there are around 2 million people living in Slovenia. We have nearly 37,000 coaches and trainers all over Slovenia, and we have over 60,000 registered athletes at the moment. In the competitive sports, we are usually at the top 5 in the big sport events like Olympic Games and European Championships and World Championships by medals per capita, meaning a number of medals of per number of citizens. This picture shows the number of sport clubs per 1,000 citizens across different regions of Slovenia. And you can see that mostly we have more than one sport club per 1,000 citizens across the region. I didn't find the number of female athletes and female coaches, but we are still represented in percentage less than half. However, we do have a lot of very successful female athletes who represent good role models for young girls. I will be sharing with you my experience of coaching girls. I have coached girls in different age categories and in different settings, meaning coaching a team in a club, and I'm also working a lot in basketball camps during the summer. So when you are a coach, you have to think about building a team. First, let me represent some tips and tricks about how to attract young girls to play basketball, how to persuade them to join the practice. It is very successful to go to school, to cooperate with school teachers, and to come to during the regular PE session to introduce basketball to girls, to kids, like in-person presentation. You present some games, and it is very useful to have a mascot present and a number of coaches who motivate kids to enjoy the games and the play of basketball. What is important is that the coach that will have the practice in that school later on is present at these presentations because kids are connected to people, to persons. So it has to be the same coach at the presentation as is later on in the practice. It is very useful if the practice for beginners is actually happening at school, immediately after school classes. For example, in Slovenia, we have a school curriculum until lunch, and after lunch, the kids stay at school and have some like free time for different kind of activities, including different sport activities. So it is a very successful cooperation between schools and sport clubs to organize practice of different sports during this time until parents come to pick them up from school. In this case, you are not depending on the parents, whether they will bring the child to the practice or not, because the child is already present in the school and they like to be active during that free time. The practice needs to include, of course, a lot of games, fun exercises and play, but you are not supposed to forget about developing physical literacy and teaching them the fundamentals of basketball, because kids like to improve, they like the progress, and they will stay with you if they can see that they are improving in particular sport, in this case, basketball. Later on, when you already have them in club, it is very important that you are building loyalty and sense of belonging. What are the best ways is attending one-day tournaments and tournaments in foreign countries, and also preparation camps in summer. These are activities where they are together for more than just 2 hours of practice. They share their free time together, the lunches, the dinners, and everything. Nowadays, it is very important to reduce the use of mobile phones. Otherwise, you will get kids using the phone all the time, being present on the social media instead of talking and hanging out with each other. So it is very important to forbid the use of mobile phones, and they are forced to talk to each other, to hang out, and to actually build nice memories together in person. And it somehow showed that they are connecting more if they are not allowed to use the mobile phones. The other ways that are less time consuming are like pancake evenings and organized transfer to competition. So somehow also the time they spend together outside of the practice and games. Recently, a lot of local sport clubs discovered that Erasmus Plus projects are also a good way to build the team because you are giving the girls different kind of experience, also usually experience to travel abroad and connect with athletes from different countries. What is also important is to encourage peer-to-peer support and help, meaning that the teammates are helping each other with other things like school responsibilities or transferring home or whatever it's happening in their life. To be a successful coach, you need to build trust. So you have to be aware that it's a long-term relationship and that the coach is a role model. So you need to be professional, positive, and also you have to be fair to all of the participants. You need to get the trust of the athletes, which you will get if you are professional, if you are prepared for the training, and they can ask and interact with you in different levels. It's very important to build a positive attitude during the practice and competition. And what is very important with girls is that you give attention to all the players. Coaches can do the mistake on focusing on only the best players in the team, but actually to build the team and to be successful, you have to give attention to all the players, even though they are not very successful during the game, because all players have a role in the team. It happened to me, for example, that a lot of times a player who was the least good in basketball, she was present at all the practices. So she was always present, and it happened a lot of times that she was the 10th player of the team on the practice, and because of her, because she was there, we could do the practice as planned, and we could do the exercises as planned, also playing 5-on-5 and train some of the plays for the games and competition. It is very important to have the team meetings where you are motivating the players and also explaining the theoretical part of the sport. And nowadays it is very important to also use the digital equipment, the digital methods, to explain the tactics and what you are doing during the practice and what you should do during the games. But mostly what I found very efficient was individual meeting. So I had individual meetings with players either before or after the practice, or a lot of times during the practice. So I gave some exercise to the girls, and I just pulled one girl to the meeting to talk to her. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 2 minutes, it can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes or more if necessary. But it's very important to have these individual meetings because you give the attention directly to a particular girl, and it has a tremendous impact on the development of the player and also on the motivation of this player. And usually I started by bringing up the mistakes and the things that need to be corrected. But I always ended up by telling her that we need her, that the team needs her, and that she's very important for the team, and try to motivate her in a positive way. So I saw the difference after the meetings, these individual meetings. I saw the difference in the engagement and also in the outcome of her play. So it's also very important to support the athletes individually, either it is sport related or outside sport. I realized that it is very important to have a good cooperation with school teachers. It is very important to identify if the athlete has a school problem on time, because as a coach, you have influence to help her to be motivated to do well in school and to be more focused on school responsibilities and to do them on time. Because if they are not successful in school, they will have problems in sport as well. And the other thing is that the parent will probably forbid the athletes to come to practice if they are not doing well in school. So it is very important to find out if there are any problems in school on time, so you can help the player either with tutoring or just motivating the player to do well in school. So during the training and competition, I noticed several things. When you start as a coach, you somehow use the habits of the coaches that you had as a player, but then with experience you build your own style of coaching. I find that discipline and hard work is the foundation, is the base for progress, and that all young girls like the progress and to be better and better. And even though it looks fun to have just fun at the practice, but then if you are losing the games, sooner or later you will lose the players as well. So the players like to be successful, they like to win, and the foundation for this is discipline and hard work. What you have to be careful is that you include all the players, again, also those who are not as good as the best one. And it is very, very important to include fun during the practice. So you have to include some of the fun exercises, and you have to allow laughter and relaxed atmosphere at some times. Meaning that you can just comment on some situation and make them laugh, just to make the practice more enjoyable, not just like army practice. So after all, they are there to have fun. They are there to enjoy the practice. What you have to be careful, of course, is not to be rude to anyone with the comments, but just to make comments on a fun situation. Of course, it is important to award the good work and engagement, and to give them to speak out loud when they are doing good. And also with different kind of exercises, it is important to build leaders and to give specific roles to players. So they feel they have a role and they feel they are belonging to the team and that they are an important part of the team. If it's possible, it's good to have cooperation with other experts, either a conditioning coach, physiotherapists, psychologists, etc. And for the girls, especially teenagers and adolescents, I found out it is very important to have a male team member. For example, like a conditioning coach who is cute looking and who is bringing a little bit more relaxed atmosphere, because as a head coach, you have to be demanding most of the time. So it's good to have another person, and if it's a cute male coach, it helps to bring the more relaxed atmosphere into the team. So they look forward to come to the practice, and somehow they, of course, are more likely to enjoy the exercises, even though they are not easy. Regarding the competition, it is very important to give clear instructions and be aware that it's not too much information, because they cannot handle too much information. And it is important to give a chance to all the players, so you keep them as a team. And I noticed that they need more motivation during the competition. And I noticed that sometimes they look like they don't care or they don't want to, but actually they're scared because of low esteem or lack of self-confidence. So it is very important to recognize the behavior, if it's the reason that they have low self-esteem and lack of self-confidence, because then during the individual meetings and also during the competition, you can support them to build a better self-esteem and to build the self-confidence. Very important, of course, are the training games, where you can give the chance to all the players and also to train some of the things that you cannot during the official competition. Specifics of working with girls. One of them is the physical specifics. It's the girls, of course, have period every month. It is important to be aware that there can be nausea, cramps, and pain present. And also the research showed that there is a higher risk of injury during the time of period for female athletes. So it's good to know these things and to be aware of them. About the behavior specifics, I can tell you this from my athletes' perspective, and also from the coaching perspective. It is very important to be good at conflict management. At least in team sports, there is also the internal competition in the team, meaning that the girls are competing for higher number of minutes during the games. So there can be some conflicts, and it's important to observe the team and to recognize if there is a conflict between some of the players. I can tell you a story from my coaching years. It surprised me a lot, but actually we had a huge conflict because of the birthday cake. So I had to do a lot of meetings on that issue. The fact was that one girl had a birthday, and she brought the birthday cake on the day of the official game. But we lost that game, so she was in a bad mood, and she didn't give the cake to other players, but it was stored in the office, in the gym. And some of the girls later on, because one of them had the key to the office, ate some of the cake. So it was a huge conflict afterwards when they found out. And I had to deal with that, with explaining what's right, what's wrong. It ended up actually in bringing the team closer together, because the girls that ate the cake felt bad and started to behave towards younger girls differently, and it ended up in more tightened team, but it could also destroy the team if I didn't manage it in time. Now we have also the new generation specifics. Because of the internet and the modern technology, and all the information that comes through their life, they have problems in focusing and concentration. So they are not used to focus and concentrate on particular information that you give them during the practice or during the game. So you need to have some specific exercises to actually improve the focus and concentration of the players. And also social media, of course, play an important role in their lifestyle. So even if you are not very active on the social media, you have to recognize that the social media is important to them and include it into the whole program, meaning that it is important to take selfies after the game or in the locker room, or when they are winning, and to put that on social media and to acknowledge their success in the social media as well, because it's important to them. We also have to adjust the situation. For example, in my time, it was no way you could be late for practice. But nowadays, you have to consider that maybe sometimes there is traffic, and you have to be a little bit loose in this area. I find that music is also a good tool to include in the practice and before the games in the locker room, because as research also shows, music has an impact on efficiency in sport. So it's good to use it during the practice to make it more fun, but also to raise the intensity of the practice. So it's very important to stay in touch with their interests, even though they're not important to you. You have to be up to date and follow what is interesting to them. These are my tips and tricks from coaching girls, from my experience working in basketball. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for sharing your valuable insights with us today. It was very interesting, and I think your experience and expertise as a coach have certainly given us much to think about and reflect on. So thank you again. For all participants, please, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I want to thank again our three roundtables, our three speakers who presented the state of play in their different countries. And we are now going to start the roundtable where we would like to hear from all of you, from the participants. We would like to hear about your experience again as coaches, as leaders, as managers in terms of recruiting and retaining girls in sport. During the roundtable component, we will utilize the poll function of the Zoom, which will display one question at a time across your screen, and which you can answer with a simple yes and no. And then afterwards, if you want to add to it, please feel free to raise your hand. So to keep it short, we would now like to start with the first question, which is, are you currently coaching girls or implementing programs specifically targeting girls? So I let you get to it and answer the question. Okay, I see the first answers are coming in, which is nice. Right now, it looks about 50-50, so 50% having specifically programs targeting girls and others haven't, but it's still changing, more answers coming in. If you would like to share something about your program, just raise your hand online, and then we will allow you to speak to share your experience as well. We're excited to hear about your program, which targets specifically girls. So, yeah, don't be shy. Feel free to share with us. We're really excited to hear from you, and I will just wait for you to raise your hands if you're willing to share something about your specific program.
May I ask something?
Yes, please.
Well, by the way, I'm road tripping. I'm driving right now. I try to follow the whole program. I just want to ask, from the feminist point of view, why we need extra program for girls, but we don't need extra program for boys?
That is a very good question. Technically, you could also have programs that target both of them. However, I think a lot of times that the problem is also with the programs then. I mean, there's still physical differences, but it would be a good question. Maybe somebody also has a program where they are where they're targeting both groups at the same time, or all of the target groups actually. I would be happy to hear about these programs as well.
And even in Turkey, we don't need any extra program for girls because, against the law, in our country, everybody is equal. But, gender discrimination, something about, our social life. That's why we don't need that kind of program.
Yeah. Okay. It's an interesting insight. Thank you for that. Okay, I feel like nobody wants to share their project with us or their program. Maybe somebody will be more happy to share about the next project or about the next question. But please really feel free to raise your hand, or also if you don't want to speak out loud, feel free to use the chat function and I will be happy to read it out loud. So our our question, our first question, when we look at them, we come back that 60% of the people who answered actually do have a coaching girls or implementing programs specifically targeting girls, and 40% do not have these projects. So it shows us that actually more than half of the people here do actually have projects or programs which are specifically targeting girls. So maybe if nobody wants to share about their project, I would like to go to the second poll, which we have for you today, which is, have you faced challenges in recruiting girls to your club program or events? Please feel free to answer that one. And I would really love to hear about your challenges and maybe also about how you overcome these challenges. So please feel free to put your challenges in the chat or to raise your hand so we can afterwards hear from you. Okay, so here we see that most of you have already faced challenges in recruiting girls to your club or your program. So I would really love to hear from your challenges and maybe also some ideas how you overcome them. So I would maybe just see if there is a coach out there from Slovenia, for example, who would be able to share their experience. We would love to hear from you.
I can share also one of the problems in recruiting girls into sport. It's the support of parents. The parents are less likely to support the girls in sport participation than boys. So when we attract them into sport, they're usually practicing in school. But the games are during the weekend, and we have a problem with parents bringing the child to the games during the weekend. How we overcome this with parents meetings, but mostly with making girls fall in love with basketball so much that they influence the parents to bring them to the games.
Thank you, Mojca, for that insight and also for how you overcome your challenge. Bringing or having the games on the weekend and having no means of transport definitely can be a challenge for girls to get to the program or to the events. Maybe we have somebody else from Serbia who would also like to share something about their challenges. Maybe it's another challenge which you face, and maybe you also have something or an idea how to overcome it. And if not, that's also not a problem. We're happy to hear it, and maybe we can even think about how to overcome your challenge. So maybe I will just ask Daniela from Serbia, do you have any stories that you like to share? Maybe while we wait, I would like to give Hilal the floor since he has his hands raised. Hilal, we're happy to hear from you.
Hi, thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and thanks for this organization. I was a coach at a girls' football club in a small town in Turkey. Some of their families said like football is a boy game and they don't want to send their girl because they were afraid they will act like a boy, or they thought sport is a real way to their family. But I talked with them a lot and gained their trust, and they were able to send their girl after that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hilal. That is bringing it back also to what Mojca also talked about, gaining the trust of the athletes, and then, of course, which you mentioned, also gaining the trust of the parents, especially when working with young athletes, is also very important. So thank you very much for sharing your insight. And Dusan, I would like to give it over to you so we can hear from your challenges.
Thank you very much. It was a really nice presentation. I enjoyed that. And I like to share our experience. 25 years ago, we organized for first time aerobic festival. And when we start to organize that, we make that with a group of students who is a specialist in recreation, and we try to make some new format in that moment. And we make in two parts. One part was competition for solo, couple, group, and in the other part we like to show the different sort of exercise with the different music, with different equipment. And in one moment, in that moment, step aerobic was something new. Only in one club they have good equipment. We go there with students to look in that activity, and we like to have that on the festival. But we recognize the problem because only instructor want to go, or any other lady was not prepared to be on the stage. In that moment, we looking for the solution. We give the order to 5 students, you will be part of that, and we have that promotion of that sort of activity. The same problem we have with 2 different sort of exercise, with big ball and with some other equipment. And in that moment, we recognize it is not the same. A lot of the aerobic is practically belongs to the lady, because 90% of all which exercise is the lady. But if the lady is not prepared to be on the stage, it is not possible to provocate her to go on the stage. When we talk about the man, it is more easy to provocate the man to show off, go to the stage. Maybe he's not complete prepared, but he don't shame. He like to try. It's the really different function, and it can be interesting for discussion. It was happened 25 years ago. Nowadays, we have a lot of lady instructor who is prepared to be on the stage, but I'm sure we have the same situation with the ordinary group. If the lady is not prepared to be on the stage, she don't go on the stage, and you must looking for some other solution to offer some other possibility for that. We know that a lady can see more color, more nuance than the man, but sometimes we try. Mojca said to do that and give that slide, and it is a really important slide. I totally agree with that. Trust is the more important thing in the lady in any sort of activity, especially in relation between the team and the relation with the coach. Trust is the most important. That is more important than is men's team. And that is from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dusan, for that experience which you shared. And I can just say, me as a coach myself, as a tennis coach, coaching girls and boys as well, I agree with all of your insights. That's building trust with your with the people that you're coaching is one of the most important parts that you have to create. So this maybe somebody else want to share something about their challenges which they overcome. We would be happy to hear from all of your experiences. If not, then we would like to go to the next question, which is very much related to the last question of challenges. The next question would be, have you faced challenges with retaining girls once they have joined your club or started your program? Okay, there are the first answers coming in. And it looks at the moment again that more than half of you have already experienced challenges with retaining girls to your project or to your program. So also here, I would love to hear again from your experiences, if you would like to share what problem you occurred, when it occurred, and maybe also if you have a reason why it occurred or what you did to overcome that problem. So please feel free again to raise your hand or to write it in the chat. And Hilal, I would like to give it over to you again. We're happy to hear from you.
Thank you so much. I would like to add some infos to my last comment relevant to that. For boy athletes, it's easier to join in a group or a team because generally they feel comfort. And I think this comes from their family. When we look into girls, we can see that because the parents just want to protect their girl child, and they think when it comes to boy child, they can protect themselves. So that the girls thinks there will always be a danger for them. So they don't feel comfort in a team, and relevant to that, they don't perform at their best. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilal. That's a very interesting insight. Would somebody else like to add to Hilal's comment or maybe mention something new which we have not talked about yet? Maybe Tatiana or Katja from Slovenia can share something from their insight. We would be happy to hear from you. So I can just maybe give a personal experience and maybe somebody of you can relate to that as well. For me, as myself, when I was a coach, but also when I was an athlete, a young athlete myself, one of the problems which I remember I had myself was that at some point doing sports and being very sportive was not considered as cool, I would say, like that, and that was, or certain sports were not considered as cool, which was for me a reason why I stopped. And when being a coach afterwards myself, I also tried to talk to my athletes to ensure that that would not happen to other athletes, and I regret leaving my project at that time. Maybe somebody of you has already had a similar problem or would like to share something about it. Yeah, we would really love to hear from all of you. So if you are, if we are not sharing with each other, it will be more difficult. But please really feel also free to put everything you have in the chat if you do not feel comfortable enough speaking out loud. Okay. As long as you're still thinking, I think we can go further to the next question, where I think we would all love to hear really input from you, because the next question is if you already implemented strategy to encourage girls to participate. That for me is a really interesting one, and I really hope that we will have some input from all of you, since I guess that is something where we can all learn from new strategies. Yes, Hilal, we would be happy to hear from you again. Please share your experience.
Thank you. I would like to express my strategy. My strategy was to make sure they feel equal with the boys, because peer bullying is also very common in the sport area, and sometimes they think it's cool to bully someone. My strategy was show them they are so valuable, unique, and the girl athletes need more confidence. So I recommend them to join a club like cinema. Encourage them to speak aloud. Like if you speak a lot in front of people, you will feel more comfortable and you will perform better because you will feel encouraged. That was my strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that strategy with you. I think making everybody feel equal and valorized is a very good point. Does somebody else want to share their insight? Maybe we can get some insights also from Serbia or Slovenia. We would be happy to hear from you. Maybe we can hear something from Fabio, who is from Italy, if I remember it correctly. We would also be happy, of course, to hear from other countries than Serbia or Slovenia.
Hi, nice to meet you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm here because I am a partner leader in another project with the Turkish Federation, and yes, with them we start in January a project funded by the Erasmus Plus, and the project is on the idea that we can improve the participation for girls with the high Bilal and with the idea that we can improve the participation with the female coach, and it's a project on outdoor education and with a multi-discipline approach. So we will say, we'll see what's happening in a few months. We will start the training in practically next month, and I feel that just writing this project that is a good idea. Have a female coach could be better to improve the participation of the girls, because they have this kind of role model. So we will see. The project name is Pink Law. Probably you can go on internet and have a look. Okay.
Thank you very much for your insight, and we will be excited to hear about the outcomes of the project, of course. Dusan, I would like to give it over to you.
Thank you again. Maybe some of you was in Perugia on the second European Sport for All Games. We, in that moment, we promote one new sort of game, and I think it can be a useful way of thinking, because if we want the equal participation, we must looking for the new sort of the game. We promote judgment. It means me can be a gentleman. We promote one simple game when all the time I try to protect my lady. We work like a couple. If some other boy try to hit with the ball some lady, my lady, I try to protect her. And reverse, if some lady try to hit me, my lady protect me. On that game, we have the equal possibility, we have equal obligation, we cooperate, and we work like a couple, and it's really good for the team building and from the equality of the gender. And in that way, we must looking for the new possibility and the new sort of game and activity like a dance, where all the time we are couple and we try to make some results. We have a lot of that possibility, and it's growing. Also in tennis, you have a mixed couple, also like competition, and that can be good way if we like to be together in that. The most important thing is, and we don't talk too much about that, why we don't have so much female in the sport organization, why they so shame and don't have enough energy or enough reason to be inside and give contribution and be part of that and looking for the solution. At the same time, we have a lot of lady inside, but we looking for more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dusan, also for that insight. I'm happy that we have gotten some more insights, and please feel free to share if you have any other strategies or challenges for everybody here in the call. And also for our last question, which is if you have any success stories that you would like to share, please answer it. And if you answer yes, please also feel free to raise your hand or to put your success story in the chat, as we would, of course, love to hear from your success story. Okay, while everybody is still answering the question, I would first like to give it over to Bilal so she can share her success story. Bilal, over to you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all. And also a special thanks to go to Stacy for inviting us to this excellent program. And now we don't have any excellent story, but we have, and we will get a story. And with Fabio, as Fabio said, that we have a partner, we are in partner in the Erasmus Plus Sport project. It calls in Club, and with this project, as he said, with the other partners, we will support girls to be coaching. And also, by the way, I want to. You think about not just participating in sports for girls or being a coach. Also, I think having a chair in sport management is very important for the girls, because we haven't researched about this. There are enough number of the seats for girls in the sport management, sport board members, and also from IOC to the any other NGO in the nationals. So as TAFISA and also as the other with the other partners, maybe we can focus on the sport management and sport managers for the girls on this topic, and maybe to be help us to increase of the participating this girls in sport, participating as coach, as athlete, and also manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment. Does anybody else want to share their success story? Miroslav, please share your success story.
Okay, do you hear me all?
Yes.
Nice to hear from you. It was very interesting seminar, and I come from Serbia, of course, but I don't know why other colleagues don't want to share their experience. Maybe they have some fear of performance, but that's normal. Well, I will start with not only success story, but all the stages and the questions you asked on this webinar. We had the plan and different challenges, and the bottom line is, for some reason, many young girls, and not only girls, but also boys and young adults, they have different challenges. Every year, the world changes, basically everything changes, and For example, we started with a couple of interested girls in sport because I work in different sport, but this story is mostly related to Olympic shooting sport, especially like air pistol, where there were a couple of girls that they were not good enough like for the rifle team, and they didn't know what to do with them. And I wrote a project to help them switch to like air pistol, which is a different event. And gradually from 2 girls then became 3, 4, 5, 6. So we had like difficulty to choose best for the team, for example, because team is consisted of 3 athletes on big competitions. And they started to build up their positive relationship. Also, I was their coach, and I also had assistant coach. So we had a very good atmosphere and everything. But the challenges that they faced, because they started with the age of like 12, 13, now they're like young adults, they're like 19 years of age, some of them 18, 19, 20. But they started, they had their own challenges like in school, because they excelled in school and they didn't want to lose their academic prowess to sport or vice versa. So they were struggling to do different challenges, and they excelled very good, both in high school and now at the university. But now the sport, because it's not like sport from which you can live, earn for a living and stuff like that. So it's kind of more of a pastime, although they were professionally committed to train like even 2 times a day and everything, all the spare time they had. And the success story of this was that against all odds, they won the national championship, which our club from Novi Sad never excelled in air pistol events. We did have a couple of, let's say, Olympic medal winners, one Olympic champion and stuff like that. So we have a good history, but never in like air pistol. And this was the first time in club's history, that is like more than 200 years that club exists, that they had some success. But the problem with the follow-up was going to the next level and different events and everything. So the sport started to take much of their time, because they're young, they want to sometimes have a good time to learn, to excel in a university so they can have scholarship, because program for sporting scholarship is very tough. Like you need to be like in the national team if you want to have some scholarship. So it's kind of difficult for them. So basically they dropped down from like being top level athletes to be like recreational athletes. And the good thing, and I would like to advise, like probably other colleagues do the same, because we have like so-called open day. So a couple of hours every day we are open like for public, everybody who wants to try to see. So they can choose if they want to commit like competitive sport or to keep it recreational. And the thing is, there also always needs to be special conditions need to be met in order to create a good atmosphere, and this good atmosphere will bring good work and the progress and eventually result. That's for now. Anybody else?
Thank you very much for that interesting success story, and we really love to hear from it. I would like to thank everybody for the last 30 minutes of the round table, since now we would like to move on to the discovery of the Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide, which is going to be introduced by you by Ms. Vivian Holt. Ms. Vivian Holt is an international education and sport consultant, and she works as a policy and practical levels in the UK, the Middle East, and throughout the world with schools, government agencies, NGOs, and organizations, including Nike and the British Council. She is an expert trainer and bespoken consultant and also of these different resources as well. Ms. Holt has a particular interest in physical education, sport physical activity and school leadership. She is a lifelong learner who has gained a first-class honors degree in physical education, a Master of Science degree in education management with distinctions, and more recently, she has gained a diploma in international education management. She has undertaken many roles across the last 25 years, and since 2014, she holds the position as a senior international leadership role in the Youth Sport Trust International, which uses the power of physical activity and sport to improve wider education outcomes for young people and schools worldwide. I would like to give you a special thanks, Mrs. Holt, for joining us today, and we are happy to hear from you now. I give it over to you. You are still muted, Viv.
Apologies, I was trying not to make a noise while I had such wonderful speakers. What I'm going to do before I start, I'm going to ask everybody for 60 seconds to stand up, wave your arms around, do anything you want, just to relax a little bit after being sat down and listening for so long. 60 seconds, have a stretch, do a bit of chair yoga, whatever you need to do, just to loosen up those muscles. Okay, and Fabio's smiling as well. I love it. Okay, thank you for that. Stacey, if we can put the presentation on the screen. Quite a long introduction there. Thank you, Denis. I need to cut that down. I'm going to talk to you about the Nike Girls Play Toolkit. And it's been very interesting listening to your examples and listening to the guest speakers, because it's people like you who are experts in your own field, all of you. It's people like you that have been used in order to gain the knowledge to build this toolkit to help in coaching girls. Next slide, please. So in this resource, there are a number of different things that could possibly help you depending where you are in terms of your coaching journey. And I've got to be really honest with you here. This coaching word is a Nike word that comes from their American base. Coaching is not just somebody who has a qualification to coach a sport, such as basketball or shooting or whatever. Coaching is about those people who are volunteers who want to work with girls. So in this toolkit, there are a number of things that can help you, different sections. There's recommendations, and that comes from experts such as yourself about what's worked. So more recommendations than we've heard from your ability to answer questions. There are some tools to help you as a coach, whether you're a beginner coach or an expert coach. There's some advice about working with mixed gender groups, because as we heard, culturally, socially in Turkey, boys and girls tend to work together. And I know when I worked in Turkey, I've worked with boys and girls together. For those of you looking to encourage others to become coaches, there's a practice plan to help you set out a session so you're confident about what you're going to do. The behavior bank, something I use all the time. It gives me keys, clues, and things for me to work on as a coach. And for those of you who are expert coaches, how to encourage and train other coaches. And the last one's a really important section. It's called conversation starters, because the challenges that you've outlined and shared are the challenges that are faced by girls around the world. So it gives you some examples of conversations you can have with girls, maybe at the end of your session, to really help them to share what their concerns are, what their feelings are. Next slide, please, Stacey. Okay, recommendations, top points, Coach's Corner. This section of the toolkit is, I think, is one of the best ones, because it gives you the top points that experts have come up with and ideas have come up with, but there are also some real examples in there from coaches around the world about what they've done. And I guess if we were writing this now, I'd be able to come to quite a lot of you with your examples and put them in there. So the recommendations is the first part. Next slide, please, Stacey. What we've learned through evidence research around the world, that there are some key things that we need to do to engage girls in sport. And can I just make a comment about sport? Because in the Balkan region, which I've worked in and been lucky enough to visit, the idea of sport is very specific as far as I understand. It is about the games, the basketball, the football, the other games. But as we had an example from Dusan, sport is usually an umbrella term, which can mean things like aerobics, dance, and other activities. So when I'm talking about sport, I'm talking about it in the biggest sense, and you can contextualize it to wherever you are. So one of the most important things to get girls into sport and keep them coming, and we had a good example at the end, is one, create connections. So connect to them, use their language, engage with them, ask them how they're feeling, not just pick up a basketball, ask them how they are. If you can, learn their names. There is nothing worse when you're in a room full of people, so you point out and going, yeah, you, but if they use your name, you think, oh, they've recognized me. The other really simple thing is what happens is when you speak to girls and sometimes boys, and you want to talk now what you're doing, the most talented and the most keen will stand at the front, right in front of you as the coach. And those that are less confident, less secure, stand at the back. So the best way to overcome this, to visually show that everybody is the same, create a circle whenever you want to talk to them, so everybody feels equal. And importantly, ask questions. If you're giving them an instruction, think about, well, next time I'm going to ask 2 questions, so they're engaged in the process. So create a connection with girls. Next one, please. Let her compete. And this was really interesting, listening to our speaker about basketball. It's really important. Girls do like to compete. It's a myth and it's an untruth to say they don't. However, we've got to think about girls competing in lots of different ways. So a competition can be against yourself. So one of the activities I've seen in basketball is they use a red, a yellow, and a green marker. The red one is nearer the basket, then the yellow is a little bit further back, then the green. So as you can compete against yourself to see if you can score a basket from the red and then move to the yellow and move to the green. So you're not competing against other people, you're just trying to improve yourself, and that's part of inclusion. However, life is about competition, so we have to allow other types of competition. This is normal in life, but it should be done in a really supportive way. Praising people is really important, and we had a great comment about not just the best player for basketball. You can praise people for lots of things. Thank you for putting the equipment safely to the side. Thank you, you tried so hard today. I was really pleased with you. Not just, thank you, Bilal, great shot. Praise people for different ways, okay? So letting her compete, creating connection are 2 of our key areas. Next one, please. Progress, not outcomes. Praise the right things the right way. We call it the TLC. Tell, label, celebrate. I really like the way, Hilal, you pass the ball to your partner. I really like the way how you were looking up when you were dribbling. I really like the way you spotted, Hilal, that there is somebody who hasn't got a partner, so you invited them to join join you. So that's really important. So as well as having that idea that there is competition, there are winners and losers, girls like to know that they are making progress in whatever you're doing. And if they make progress, they're confident, they feel happy, and they're more likely to come again. Next slide, please. Brave, not perfect. Okay. Girls' confidence tends from research to be a lot less than boys. Boys are very brave. And I always tell the story of an advert for a job. And there's an advert for a job, and it is likely that most females will not apply for that job unless they can meet all of the criteria needed in the job. In men's case, virtually 100% of them, even if they've only got 40% of the criteria, they'll apply anyway and see where it goes. Because girls tend to, through society, feel they have to be perfect in the way they dress, in the way they behave, in the way they look, all of these. And with social media, image is really important. So when they come to a coaching session or a sports session, it's really important not to criticize, to allow girls not to be perfect at sport, to allow them to come, as some of you have said, to have fun and not just to be the best. So it's really important to prioritize bravery. Thank you so much. I know you'll find it difficult, but you're really doing well coming week after week. I can see progress. And if they make a mistake as a coach, no, that was the wrong pass. That you shouldn't have done that. Let it go. Let it go. Sometimes people do these kinds of things, and set the tone that it's a safe place for girls to come to where they do not have to feel perfect. Really important. Next slide, please, Stacey. As well as those key criteria and lots of advice, there are some tools in there. There are some coaching strategies. Some of you have shared some great examples today around your coaching strategies. You've mentioned choice. You've mentioned female role models. You've mentioned school is a safe place for them to come. You've talked about games that look at unconscious bias. So males and females care about each other and don't criticize. You've mentioned lots of things, but in the toolkit, there are lots of coaching strategies for you. Next slide, please, Stacey. Practice plans I've mentioned. For those of you who have young coaches or people coming to volunteer to help you, there's some lovely plans in there which help people put together a session. Next slide, please, Stacey. A behavior bank. I've talked about this. These are top tips and top behaviors for you as a coach. And for me, even though I've been coaching a long time, I look at these regularly and set myself challenges to use one or two of these within a coaching session. So I'm looking to improve all the time. Next slide, please, Stacey. How to train coaches. I mentioned at the beginning, for those of you who are lead coaches, you want to encourage others. There's some great strategies in there, great ideas about how you can train coaches. And the next slide, please. And I mentioned conversation starters. They're really important. You know, how do you feel about coming to a mixed session? Would you prefer to come on your own? And some prompts and ideas so you can engage with girls. Finally, before we move to the very end, I just want to mention one thing. It's really encouraging for me to see male coaches with us today, because it's, although as one of our, I think it was Stacey mentioned, one of the strategies at work is to have female role models, and girls do like female role models. The evidence is, certainly across Europe, it's 70% male coaches, 30% female coaches. So it's not always possible for girls to have a female role model and a female coach. So it's very important we work with our male colleagues to get them to understand the differences that girls have. So this is a Nike Made to Play girls coaching guide. If you go to the last slide, Stacey, it's available in 14 languages. All the information's there, and I know Stacey and Denise will send out links at the end of this session so you can access it. I use it, it's a great resource, and it gives me lots of ideas. And when I first put it together with my colleague in America, it helped me to really reflect on just what it is we need to do to get girls involved and to get them coming. And it raised things for me I hadn't thought about. So I found it useful. I certainly hope you will as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This was an excellent contribution. And I would now like to open the floor also to questions which any of the participants might have for Mrs. Holt. So please don't hesitate to raise up your hand or also to ask your question directly in the chat. Miroslav, I don't know if your hand is still up from before or if it's a new hand. If yes, please feel free to ask your question.
Sorry, I dropped the phone. Sorry.
Okay, if there are no questions incoming, I would like to mention to all of you that you can find the link to the Coaching Girls resource already in the chat. So please feel free already to look at it now. And yes, Viv, I would like to give you back the microphone.
Very, very quickly, what I know from having had the opportunity and the privilege of coming and working in the Balkans and working in Turkey, Europe is a very, very diverse continent, and we're all very, very different from the west to the east, to the south, to the north. And there is another resource, if you go onto the Nike website, which may be of interest to you. It's not necessarily specifically about girls. It's called Coaching for Belonging. And we've written it to look at the whole world and how customs and cultures and history and heritage affect how we work when we are coaching. And because of our difference and our diversity, it might be one that is of interest to our colleagues.
Thank you, Viv, for sharing that resource as well. For all of the participants, please feel free to look it up. It is also in the chat. Stacey just shared the file there as well. I would like to give it again to see if anybody has any questions. If yes, please raise your hand. In the absence of any questions, I would really like to thank, first of all, Ms. Fiona Johnson from the TAFISA Board of Directors for giving her warm welcoming words. And I would, of course, also like to extend a big thank you to our fantastic speakers, to Professor Dr. Fatma Şahin, to Ms. Milena Tatic, Ms. Mojca Markovič, and Ms. Vivian Holt. Thank you all for your contribution to this workshop today, and thank you for sharing your insights either to your countries or for Vivian also to share the insights into the Nike Made to Play workbook. I would also like to extend again a big thank you to our 3 members, so to the Sports Union of Slovenia, to Turkish Sport for All Federation, and the Association for Sport for All Serbia for their support in the planning and implementing the session today. So thank you again as well to you. And of course, I don't want to forget all of the participants which we have here today who were able to share something. I would also like to extend a big thanks to you. After the Zoom session is closing, there will be a survey which will pop up. Please complete the survey, and please also note that for receiving the certificate for the workshop, you have to complete the survey. So we kindly really ask you to complete the survey once it is done. It should only be a few minutes, and your feedback is very valuable for us since we're always working on making our workshops better and improving them for the future. Furthermore, also the workshop recording together with the certificate and also the Coaching Girls guide material will be sent to all of you via email at the end, so you can have the opportunity to rewatch the video if you would like to go back to something which we said today. We would like you to stay tuned for further opportunities and to stay connected to the global alumnus of Made to Play Coaching Girls workshop participants. We thank all of you for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon again. I wish you a great afternoon.